What is up, y'all? It's the Eric V, your stream teach here, and much like yourself, I am often on the discovery and the pursuit of new knowledge when it comes to streaming. So I'm looking at advice pretty often. Oftentimes, that advice is not great. So what I'm gonna do for you today is break down some of the worst advice I've ever heard, and some of you might think it's actually good advice. So I know how you girls like to tussle, so keep watching and let's break it down. Class is in session. So let me give the disclaimer that I always have to give. This is a channel about growth, or at least this is a video about growth. There's videos about troubleshooting and reviews and stuff like that if you want to look into that. But this video is about growth. So if you're not trying to grow your channel, this ain't about you. The first worst advice I hear is surrounding gear and how you need to buy the most expensive stuff. Or you need to have a lot of money to start streaming. Keep in mind what I said in that sentence. You need to have a lot of money to start streaming. You do not. You should invest money as you continue to stream if you enjoy streaming and you know you like it because you've done it long enough. Every time I hear the Shure SM7B, I cringe a little bit. I die a little bit inside. I'm using the Wave 3 microphone, and many of you have complimented me on my audio. This microphone is not expensive. You can also get the Wave 1, which is also a lot cheaper. So I would say if you stay in that $60 to $100 range, that's good audio range to buy something in. You can also, I've made a video about it, you're gonna hear me say that a lot, set up proper microphone filters so that you can make your cheap, not so great microphones sound a whole lot better. When it comes to using cameras, people are talking about their DSLR cameras, which I do use. And again, I made a video about it. You can use a Logitech webcam just like every other starter streamer. When your camera is shoved into a corner, the bokeh effect doesn't really matter a whole lot. Lighting. I have great lighting nowadays. I have a light over my head, I have a light to my left and a light to my right. Do you have to start with that much lighting? No, you do not. I started with a lamp pointed at a wall. Like my first YouTube video on this current iteration of the channel was a light pointed to a wall, diffusing back onto my face so that it would not be too harsh. I did not have a great desk. I streamed off of a picnic table on a laptop, which I still stream off of now. Not the same laptop, but a laptop. And a TV on a picnic table. Why? Because that's all I needed. All I needed was an HDMI cable from laptop to TV. Now I have two screens because the audience isn't seeing my desk. The audience is seeing everything behind the camera. And I know that sounds obvious, but when you're buying gear, make sure everything you buy first is for the audience experience, and everything after that is your own vanity. I want to feel better as I stream type of thing. People are always bringing up these super powerful PCs so that less experienced people who don't know anything about streaming think that the barrier to get into streaming is super expensive, when I'm telling you it's not. Start simple. Decent lighting, decent microphone. I would always suggest a camera. It doesn't have to be the best camera. You upgrade to all the best stuff after you decide that maybe I kind of like this streaming thing. And you really cannot buy your way into success on streaming. That's just not how this industry works. The next one is one that you hear a lot. It's something that I definitely hear a lot, and it is stick to one game. Now, sticking to one game sounds like good advice, and it could be. I understand being in a community that digs this one game, and you have those people every time they want to see that game, they can come and see you play it. However, and I've seen this happen so many times, when you hyper focus on one game or one type of content even that's not yourself, I pointed at me, yourself, when you inevitably get sick of that game and you want to switch to something else, those people who are there for that game and not there for you are not going to return. So even if you do stick to one game, I would suggest sprinkling in some different content, even if it's just chatting every now and then. It could be like once a month, but just enough that people get endeared to you and not only see you for that one thing. There are times when it's just like, oh, they're not playing that game I watched them for. I guess I'm not gonna watch. And that's not something that you wanna do. Games, just like the internet, are fickle, and they could just completely die. It happened with Halo Infinite, for instance. It's dead right now. It might be revived later, but right now that is a dead game. And if you are a Halo Infinite streamer that's not at the tippy top, or even if you are at the tippy top, I'm sure you've lost a lot of viewers. That's because the game is the entertainment and not you. So what I would suggest, and this is something that I don't personally do, so call me a hypocrite if you like, I would say stick to one niche of game. If you want to stick to first-person shooters, if you want to stick to fighting games, if you want to stick to racing games, if you want to stick to RPGs, if you want to stick to retro, I think that that is a much better way of getting an audience and keeping an audience, because it will allow them to discover new things that they could have possibly liked that they might not even know about or they've never seen, so they can get a sense of discovery when it comes to what's being played. Because the last thing you want to do is pigeonhole yourself and then lose a bunch of people and start from scratch. The next is play what you want. And this advice sounds sound, I get it. If you're not having a good time, the audience isn't having a good time. And this is very true. You still have to keep in mind what people might want to see. If you're the only person who wants to play this particular game, then nobody's gonna really watch you play it, because there is a limited amount of viewers on Twitch or on Facebook Gaming or on YouTube. And when I say this advice, follow me. What I mean by don't just play what you want is don't play a game that is completely obsolete. There is a market for retro games, of course, right? But if you're playing NBA 2K16, for instance, and that's your favorite 2K game because the handles are the best, people aren't gonna gravitate toward it. Just go up to NBA 2K22 or even maybe 21 and people will want to watch that. I don't hear people talk about The Witcher 1, for instance. I'm not saying don't play games that you want to, but maybe play a game that's in that same vein that is a little bit more modern and has a bit more of an audience. And I hope that that makes sense. If you're coming out of nowhere and you're streaming Herbs, Sims in the City, people might not be searching for that game. Let me actually check to see how many people are watching Herbs, Sims in the City. So literally no one is playing this game right now. And you could possibly become a trendsetter and a trailblazer by streaming this game while no one else is streaming it. But the likelihood of someone discovering you from that is slim. So maybe go with the modern Sims game. You know, maybe instead of playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, just play a newer Call of Duty game. That's all I'm saying. Don't fish in swimming pools. This next one, here comes that phrase again, I've made a video about. It's always be casting, also known as the ABCs of streaming, which is terrible advice. So this is exactly what it sounds like. Stream as much as possible so that you have the maximum potential for discovery. And that is really not how Twitch works. Twitch doesn't really work much when it comes to discovery, which is something that many people know, which is why you have to use this always be casting time to do other things to try and be discovered. If you stream all day, not only do you not have time to create content outside of Twitch or YouTube or whatever, you also don't have time to develop as a person. You don't have time to get experiences and come back to be able to tell stories to stream. You stay within your four walls and you become a little bit insane and reclusive because you're doing the same repetitious thing for your life, not for streaming, but for your life. Stream a little less, do a little more on the back end, and also have time to practice self-care. And the number one worst advice I've seen when it comes to streaming is to mimic your favorite streamers. Not how they grew, but how they currently behave. This is one of those things where people try to use the exception as the rule. Every time I give advice about something in particular, for instance, highly recommended that you stream with a camera if you're trying to grow and make a connection. People say, oh, but blah, blah, blah doesn't use a camera. This ain't about them. This is about you. And you cannot use other people's exceptions to the rules as a rule for yourself. You can, of course, still, not use a camera, right? But if you're trying to grow and engage, Studies show that people connect to human faces. And I've made a video about this too. People have to realize that a lot of these streamers who are big on Twitch got big a long time ago, or they got big doing something that was outside of Twitch, whether it be esports or YouTubing, and they just come here and they do streaming. Without that realization, you're setting yourself up for failure. If you're looking at somebody who's already successful and just being like, oh, they don't talk to their chat, I don't have to talk to my chat. That is not how this works. They don't talk to their chat because they don't have to talk to their chat, because their community is already enthralled enough by their personality. If you don't talk to your chat, people don't know your personality and they can't get a connection with you. Someone who has thousands of viewers can put up a 20-minute starting soon screen because they have people who are there waiting for them. And there has to be a sense of humility in the content creation space to say, who am I to make somebody wait through ads and 20 minutes of a starting soon screen to see me? Who am I? Is my content that valuable? Or do people value it that much, more importantly? So that's it. If you've ever heard worse advice, feel free to let me know what that is. Or if you think any of the advice that I just told you about was actually good advice, please tell me why that is. If you want to see me do the opposite of all of that stuff, feel free to check me out on twitch.tv/TheEricV. And if you like the video, then like the video. Class dismissed. Shout out to Corliss and Dr. J for being tier 3 patrons. Yeah, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Tail started talking about the bridge a lot. Let's see. They tell me everything except what I need to know.